Hey, Warrior Saints. Glad to have you beautiful people with us. It's almost the new year. We talked about thinking for the last 3 days, and we said we were going to talk about thinking and listening. Today, we're going to talk about listening. One of my responsibilities here at St. George is that I teach the marriage preparation courses. And one of the things that we talk about and spend a lot of time is communication. And we really talk a lot about communication right before we talk about conflict resolution. Because 90% of the time that we need the conflict resolution in our married lives is because of the communication issues that we might have had right up until the point of the conflict resolution. And some of that comes from three very distinct differences that we all have wrapped up in the word listening. But they're very distinct. You've got hearing, you've got listening, and then you've got understanding. The reality is when we might hear something, we might think that we've listened to what was said, but we did not understand it at all whatsoever. Why? Why do we have these issues? Why does this stuff happen? Why does this stuff break down? The answer is very simple. It's because we weren't actually listening. We didn't actually hear. We heard through filters, and we didn't recognize that those filters existed. And then we weren't able to actually enact what's going on and or react to what was going on because we didn't actually hear. We weren't really fully listening. We had something like earmuffs on, and we kind of heard the Charlie Brown teacher going on in the background, not our actual spouses. Or, in some cases, not what is actually being taught to us. We see this beautifully illustrated for us in the book of Ezekiel. In chapter 3, verse 7, after God has already told Ezekiel, here's the words that you are to speak to the exiles, here is my commandments that you are to give to them. He says, but the people of Israel will not hear you. They will not listen to you because they are of a hard forehead and they are like cement-brained. They are stubborn. They're not going to do what I'm telling you to tell them to do. God goes on to say, if you don't tell them and they don't listen, then it's on you. If you do tell them and they don't listen, then you're okay. It's on them. The point is, God's commandments are hard. And sometimes we hear those with a stubborn mind. We hear those with those filters. We hear those with those earmuffs. And we don't want to listen to what's going on, and we don't want to enact them. We have the hard forehead. We have that stubborn mind. We are like, we're digging our heels in and we're going to believe what we want to believe, whether or not it has to do with God's commandments or not. Whether or not we agree with God's commandments. Whether or not we actually think that what our spouse is asking us to do is a good thing. I'm going to show her what I'm actually going to do just for the point and sake of digging our heels in. Rather, we have to do something that I like to make couples do. And I encourage you all to do this, whether as a couple or without being a couple. And this is what an exercise that we go through for conflict resolution. The first, write down what you think was said. Then have the other person write down what was actually said. Compare the two. When you compare what was actually said to what you think was said, then you're able to get to the heart of the matter. Then you're able to say, if we're going to argue about this, this is what trapping or blocking the other person is going to look like. And so I can avoid, we don't do that so I can say like, this is how I'm going to line up my argument, so I can say I've got him. Because if you're in an argument with your spouse and at any point you said, ha ha, I got you, you've lost. So this is an opportunity for us to get down to what's actually going on, what is actually being said, what is actually going on at the heart of the matter. This is kind of the stuff that we're looking at in the battle plan. When we talk about relationships, we talk about communication. We talk about listening. We talk about actually hearing what is said, not just what we think is being said, so that we can cut out our filters. And so when we go into this new year, re-energized, rejuvenated, and ready to rock 2024, we're actually able to see what's going on around us, think through it, and hear what God is actually telling us to do throughout it. and we might live out his commandments. We look forward to seeing you in the new year. We'll be back again on Monday. Before then, we'll be back with a little bit different of our church schedule on Sunday with Orthros and Typica, both starting at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. And until we see you next, you keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.